Hello everyone, welcome back. This is Kevin with survivalistboards.com. Let's talk about using abandoned sawmills as bug out locations. That all across the United States, well, anywhere where there was timber in the late 1800s and the early 1900s, there were sawmills all through the woods set up. And this is a period before heavy equipment and before electricity was brought to a lot of these areas. Electricity was not brought to a lot of these rural areas until the 1950s with the Rural Electrification Act signed by Roosevelt or Eisenhower. But anyway. So a lot of these rural sawmills are going to have a couple of things in common. One is water. They're all going to be, or they should all be built around water, because these were steam-powered engines. They had trains going to them. The sawmills were steam powered. So what do you need? What do you have to make steam? You have to have water. I don't know if y'all can see all that movement in there in the water. Probably perch, turtle, stuff like that. After the sawmills, a lot of these sawmills were left, abandoned, tore down, burned down, accidentally, quote, accidentally burned down after all the timber was depleted. Just funny how that happens, huh? That a lot of these log ponds were left, and they have since returned back to nature. Now these were where the logs were floated before they went to the mill. As you can see here, some of these log ponds may have beavers in them. And besides the log pond, there's also going to be some type of stream nearby. I don't know if you can see them fish hitting right on the top of the water. I don't know if y'all... anyway, chances are there's going to be some type of stream nearby. So what you have is you have a stream nearby for clear running water, and then you have a pond, a nice sized pond that is returned to nature and became a wildlife habitat. And over the decades, remember, a lot of these have been out of commission for 75 years, close to 100 years. A lot of the locals, what has happened? A lot of the locals, years ago, decades ago, even today, may be stocking these ponds with perch, bass, catfish, with the hopes of going back later and catching something. And a lot of these sawmills, you still have, let me get stopped here, you still have the foundations and the walls. This is one of the, well, the only real standing wall that size. A lot of this sawmill here burned down. All the wood was burned. Some of the walls collapsed. This wall is probably about 7 feet high or so. So you have, chances are you're going to have a cement slab down here in the bottom. The walls, the trees. So what you have here is the start or the foundation of a semi-permanent settlement. You've got water, a pond over there. This is just an example. A lot of these old sawmills spread all over the United States are going to be similar to this. They're all going to have a source of water because everything was steam powered. There were trains coming in and out of here. They had narrow gauge tracks going out into the woods. This was before heavy equipment. So the sawmills had to be brought to the timber. Today, timber is brought to the sawmill via 18-wheeler trucks and trains. And so this is an example of whenever the sawmills were brought to the timber and to operate these steam-powered machines to machines to operate the trains, to operate the narrow gauge train tracks, that narrow gauge trains that would go out in the woods and get the wood and bring it back. Everything was steam powered. So with the pond, we've got fish, we've got clear running water, we've got migratory waterfowl that'll use the pond, we've got wild hogs, we've got deer, we've got raccoons, and anything else that comes in here looking for a meal. We have a cement, there will be a cement foundation underneath all this pine straw, all this leaf litter. Then we've got cement walls, concrete walls on each side. We've got build lean-tos or put up across beam across there and build a roof over it. We've got all these bricks that can be used to build a fireplace. We have here the start of a semi-permanent settlement. The thing is a lot of these old sawmills are not on the maps. They're not even recorded. Some of them have been forgotten in history. This one's not on the map. There's just a few local people that know where it's at. I just happen to be one of them. What else? What else? Well, guys, that's about it. You're just going to have to, if you want to investigate places like this, you're just going to have to get out. There's Buster. That's the dog that my fiance picked up off the side of the road. Hey, Buster. Come on, Buster. You're going to have to get out there, find where the old sawmills are at, and get out there and investigate them. Around all these fallen walls, you're going to have stuff like this rebar. Now, this is some pretty strong stuff. This has been here for almost 100 years, and it's showing hardly any signs of rust. It's been exposed to the weather, oh, I don't know how many decades, and it is showing very little rust. You're going to have train tracks nearby, some of the narrow gauge train tracks that ran to the mill. You can find some of those, dig them up. Some of them were left behind where the mill was pulled up or left behind. The railroad spikes. I mean, you've got all the stuff you need right here to do blacksmithing.